ladies, welcome back, and I hope you guys had a super great week and just enjoyed the time that we had in this amazing book, and just enjoyed the time in His Word, enjoyed the time just spending face to face with God, pouring out our hearts before Him, talking about what He's talking to us about, and just enjoying Him. For those of you who are new, we're just a bunch of ladies from Calvary Chapel Paarl that are doing a one-year Bible reading plan together, with just these videos once a week. So you can start anytime, ladies, anytime. Just go onto our website, go under His Word and His Face, and you can find the Bible reading plan that we're using and the videos. You can, and ladies, I just want to take any pressure off of you. If you miss a day, don't worry about it. Just start up the next day with your reading. You don't have to put a bunch of pressure on yourself to catch up and do 2 days worth of reading or a week's worth of reading. That's crazy. This book doesn't change. It is the same. Next year it will be the same, or another time that you're reading, you can catch up, you can see those other parts in the Word. They are still going to be there, I promise you. And this is not a textbook. This is not a textbook. I am not giving an exam. It is about getting the words of this book, this living and powerful book, into our hearts and into our lives. That's what it's about. That's what this whole thing is about. So, anyway, this week I wanted to talk to you about, in our reading, we were reading about Isaac and Rebekah, and so I want to focus in on Genesis chapter 25, verse 21 through 22, and I'll just read it to you and then we'll unpack it. It says, "Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled within her, and she said, 'If all is well, why am I like this?' And so she went to inquire of the Lord." So I just want to step back for 1 second. Things that we know that Rebekah knew. From the time, even before she met Isaac, when her family prayed over her when she left to go meet Isaac, they blessed her and said that she would be a mother of many nations. She knew immediately upon marrying Isaac that her father-in-law that God had met with her father-in-law, and that her father-in-law Abraham had received a promise from God that his descendants were going to be as a multitude, a mighty nation, unnumbered as the sand of the sea or the sky, the stars of the sky. So she knew that she was supposed to be a mama, but she's barren. And so she's frustrated, of course, by her barrenness, but now she's finally pregnant, and it's a nightmare. She finally got what she wanted, and it's not what she expected that it was going to be at all. But I just want to look at one other thing real quick. The beginning of these two verses start and they end with the same action by Isaac and Rebekah. Isaac pleaded with God for his wife, and Rebekah went to inquire of God about what was going on. The same action. They're dealing with this situation of barrenness and then a crazy pregnancy, and they go to God about it. That's where they go. She doesn't just settle with complaining. And ladies, we know it's easy to just settle with complaining, isn't it? It's easy just to moan about something, and a lot of times we get a lot of great gratification and sympathy from that moaning, but it's never settled until God answers, right? It's never settled until God gives the answer. So we can really relate with what Rebekah is feeling. There has to have been some point in your life when you're in a circumstance and you thought, if everything's okay, if this is God's plan, why do I feel like this? Why is she actually said in the New Living Translation, it says that she went to the Lord to talk to the Lord about it, and she asked, why is this happening to me? I love that she that when she goes to God to talk about this, she just gets right to what she really feels. She doesn't preface her question with 20 Christian phrases or anything like that. She just talks to God about what's going on inside of her and isn't scared about how he's going to respond, because she understands that he's not shocked. Surely in your reading so far, you would have noticed already that God's ways are most never the easy way, and that he is not predictable in his plans, is he? And I'm sure that you could even say in your walk, in your life with him, that times in your life that you would have never said, oh, I would have thought that he would have done that. Oh, I could have predicted that one. No, this is not the way our God works, is it? When he sent Abraham with his promised only son up to Mount Moriah to sacrifice him, was that predictable to Abraham? Surely not. Was the ram in the thicket predictable to Abraham? No, it wasn't. In fact, all of that would have classified as crazy. But God was in it, right? And so we can look at the world around us right now, and or our situation, and think, God, where are you in this? Where is your plan in this? What are you doing? It doesn't make any sense. In fact, and we don't have to be afraid about talking to our God like that, but in that situation, don't you find that maybe right now you're thinking along those lines? What, God, if everything is well, why do I feel like this? Sometimes when we're in that situation, our own fear and our inability to cope rattles us. And we think, surely I thought I would be stronger than this. Or I thought I would cope better. Or I thought that, I thought that I would handle this a lot better. And our own lack of strength shakes us. And we think, I'm a spirit-filled believer, for heaven's sakes. Why is this like this? So I just want to carry along that thought, and let's go now, and we're going to go into the New Testament, and I'm going to look at what God says about his plans and our part in his plan. And we read this week in Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, and then verse 26 through 31. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Therefore do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and nothing hidden that will not be known. Whatever I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, and what you hear in the ear, preach on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them falls to the ground apart from your Father's will? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Do not fear, therefore. You are more value than many sparrows. So verse 16 and verse 26. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Therefore do not fear them, for there is nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be made known. We are like sheep in the midst of wolves, but there is a day coming where everything that is right will be known as right, and when everything's wrong will be known as wrong, and God's truth will reign. There's a day coming where nothing will be hidden anymore, and everything will be revealed. There's a day coming. And so we don't have to get so wound up about what's going on around us. We can just trust that our God, that there's a day coming when his truth, what we know, God's given us a spiritual gift. He has given us the ability to discern good and evil. He's given us the ability in some measure to discern truth and lies. So let's not get all wound up and fight the wrong battles. Let's just trust him and know there's a day coming when what's right will be known as right and what's wrong will be known as wrong. Yes? Okay. All right, verse 27. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the light, in the daylight. What I whisper to you in the ear, proclaim from the rooftops. So don't get so freaked out that you hide your light. We're meant to be the light of the world. We have inside of us the hope of the nations. We have inside of us the power for salvation. We need to speak. That's what this whole thing that we're doing is about spending time with our God, getting to know him, listening, hearing a word just for us in his word. And guess what? We're supposed to speak that word out. We're supposed to tell our neighbors. We're supposed to tell our family, our kids, our husband, our friends, the people around us. We're supposed to tell them. That's a precious, beautiful word that he's given to you. Nobody can take that away from you. Speak it out. And don't be afraid of those who can kill the body but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. They're wolves. They're going to make our lives as sheep a little miserable and a little uncomfortable, but they can never take away what's most important from us. They can't take away that life that we have in him, that beautiful life of love and hope that we have with him. They can't take it away from us, right? We can still live out that life, even when we feel like we're being attacked on every angle. What is the price of 2 sparrows? 1 copper coin? Not a single sparrow can fall to the ground without your Father knowing it, and the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You have more value to God than a whole flock of sparrows. Here in South Africa, we have these sparrows that fly in flocks like this, and they just swarm and flock like this, and it seems like they just dance on the earth. And it's actually a beautiful thing to watch, mesmerizing thing to watch. And it always is shocking to me how they don't like collide into one another and one of them goes falling or whatever, but it's like they just dance over the treetops, in amongst the houses, like this, up and around. And our Father knows every one of those sparrows, and there's loads of them. I just can't help thinking about when I read this passage and that he's numbered every hair on our heads. I can't think about that. You know, that week, you as mommies, you will know that week when you bring your new baby home from the hospital, and it's just there's just a hush in the house for about a week where almost nothing stirs, and you just sit there and stare at that baby. And from the crown of that baby's head to the tip of its toe, you just inspect that child. And you just look at its little fingernails, and you watch the little faces that it makes while it sleeps. And you look at its little toes, and just every little part of that child you inspect. And I can't help thinking that this is what our God does with us, because how else would he know every hair on my head unless he was so intimately concerned with me that he would inspect me in this way? So our God loves us this way. We can trust our Father. He loves us. He's not going to let us fall. He's not going to let us fall. And so I just want to close now with a famous fall and a famous catch that we read as well. And I just want to focus on one scripture, a little bit ahead in Matthew chapter 14, verse 28. It says, Lord, if it's Peter speaking, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. There's a big storm, a big, crazy, unpredicted storm crazy, scary, came out of nowhere. And the disciples are freaking out, completely freaking out. Then they see Jesus walking in the storm on the waves to them, and he says to them, "Don't be afraid, it's me. Don't worry, it's me." And they think, "Oh my gosh, it's a ghost. What the heck? What's going on here? This is a ghost." But Peter stands there and he looks at Jesus and he says, "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." And I think there's something there for us to see. There's something there that is in us, just like it was in Peter. Something there was like, Jesus, if you are who you say you are, if you really are who you say you are, tell me to come out into the crazy with you. There's something in us that's just like Peter. It's like he stood there and he wanted the challenge. He wanted Jesus to see that he was man enough to get out of the boat, and that he believed him enough to get out of the boat. And he also wanted to see the challenge in himself, that he believed enough to get out of the boat and to trust God on the water. There is something in us that longs for more, to know more of our God, and to feel that challenge in it, to adventure with our Creator. Not just, yes, of course, to go and to see more of his creation and the beauty that he's made for us on this, to enjoy on this earth, but also just to wreck our box and to get out and to do something that's totally unpredicted, that's outside of our box, and that scares us, but that challenges who we believe he is, and challenges him to show us that he is who we desperately are wanting to know more that he is. He tells us in his word, he says in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11, he says, he's made everything beautiful in his time. Also, he has set the world. This is what it says in the King James version. It says, he has set the world in their hearts, so that no man can find out the work that God made from the beginning to the end. We will never on this earth know the end of him. We will never know the beginning or the end of this eternal, amazing God. And he's put in our hearts this longing to adventure with him, this longing to go with him, this longing to know more of the beginning and the end of him. It's just there. This doesn't mean that we have to do something crazy or rash, or this isn't something that will actually be birthed in us. It's something that happens when we allow ourselves, when we're talking face to face with him, we allow this to enter the conversation, and we allow ourselves to dream and to wonder, what could he ask me to do? Surely that there's been a time in your life when it was like life settled for a minute and you thought, is this it for me? So my Christian walk, this is what it is now until I die? I read this in my Bible about all these amazing stories and about my amazing God, but now this is it for me? I think that God wants to crack a lot of our boxes open, and he wants to call us out into adventure with him. But just know, like I said, this isn't something that we don't have to drum this up. This is just talking to God about this and him leading us out into it, because our God is extremely practical. If I've learned anything about him, he's extremely practical, and he leads us out with what we already have in hand. That's what he does. And ladies, this is the most important thing that I think that I've learned so far, that it's not necessarily about what I physically do. It's about what I learn in the process with him, what I learn about him, how I've learned that more about him as my healer, as my creator, as my helper, as my comforter, as my provider. What I learn about him there. So ladies, step out there, get out there. Don't worry. He's already there. He's going to catch you. He's not going to let you fall like a sparrow.